already mentioned that it's very focused on Barcelona. So if you look for a job in Barcelona, talented people, InfoJobs is a huge job for Spain, you should be there.
And of course you're applying for jobs.
Of course you're applying for jobs, but because before I mentioned that it was not on the papers, just so you have the name.
Okay. Okay, great. So the next slide is about situational questions, or as they call them, also competency-based questions. Okay. In these questions, the recruiter basically what it's analyzing, it's to see how would you react in a future, let's say in a future situation. Okay. To see how would you react on the job. And how they do this is that they ask you a question from your past, as we were saying a little bit before. So let's say, how did you work on a project at university? You know, what happened? Were you the leader? What was the result? You know, all these questions. So normally what you have to do when you are answering to this question, more or less, of course it doesn't have to be like super specific like this, but so it's easier and it's structured, you have to do it in a STAR structure, okay? Which is situation, task, action, and result. So the situation is going to be, so I had to do this group work at university about, you know, a web page or something like that. The task is, let's say, how did you organize yourself? What was it about? The action is, you know, what did you have to do so it actually worked? All the steps throughout the mission. And then the result. Did it come out right? Didn't it come out right? You know, like a little bit, the come out result. And here is also very interesting and very important to say, if it didn't come out right, because maybe they will ask you about a question on, can you tell me about a situation in a group work when it didn't come out right? So you also have to always explain what would you have done differently, so it, you know, so it did have a good come out, or what did you learn from all the situation, etc. Okay, so this also is quite interesting, and they use this kind of questions more and more. Okay. As we were saying also at the beginning of, let's say, this part on interviews, it's very important to always ask questions in an interview, okay? As we were saying, this is a conversation, okay? You have on the paper that I gave you, on the back, not only you know, questions that can come up, and you know, so you have them to prepare them, but also on the end, there's some questions that you can actually ask. Again, it always depends on the position that you apply for, so it's not always only those questions that you can ask, but they can be useful, okay?
Yeah, there is a moment in the interview always, or should be, that the recruiter will ask you, do you have any questions? So don't say, and I get it a lot, no, everything is very clear. And it happens a lot, and for me, again, what I was telling you before, like, I look a lot for motivation. And if that person doesn't have any questions, and we had only spoke for 20-30 minutes, probably it's because he's not very motivated on the job, hasn't done the research, doesn't care. So it gives me a quite bad impression. Also, if somebody asks me a question that is super redundant and that he should have found it on the website right away, no? It means that he hasn't done any research and he's just asking to ask. So try to have some good questions prepared, some things that you really are wondering, because that will show that you're curious, that you're motivated. Especially for entry-level positions, recruiters will look for that, especially employers. Probably the person doing the final interview is going to be your boss. So you need to give him the impression that you're motivated, that you like it.
Yes, and as Carlos was saying, sometimes, you know, when you ask, do you have any questions? The person like maybe gets a bit panicked, they haven't prepared any questions, they don't know what to ask, and they just ask you like, what is the schedule? And you're like, I mean, you can ask for this, that's fine. Normally it's going to be already in the job description, but maybe it's not clear. You can ask this, but this cannot be your first question, okay? Because this means that it only importance to the structure of your life, of how you're going to be preparing. For me, it's like, okay, why is this position worth it for you? You know, like all of the questions that we have written there. How would a normal day in my job look like? How big is the team? A question that I like, because when you're going, are there a lot of people, like international people in the team? I mean, I'm not saying that you only ask this, but it's like, oh, well, actually, in your team there's a Bulgarian person, there's an Italian person, there's a French person, and then also for me, as our company culture is very international, it's interesting because for me it's showing that for them it's also interesting, So again, it's important that you beforehand think of some questions, because maybe you can go to the interview and panic and you don't know what to answer or what to ask, so then you can do this. You can even write it down in a paper and put it actually yes, I have some questions, I have written them down. You can do this as well.
Yeah,
that's perfectly fine.
Especially, you don't ask questions that you have already covered on the interview, but one of the real questions is what's the growth path of this offer, Can I, after this position, grow inside the company? Maybe the recruiter has already mentioned this, so don't ask it again.
You can even say, actually, you have actually already answered some of the questions that I have written, like this and this, but I also wanted to ask you about this and this. So, before the interview has finished, 2 important things you should know, okay? So you cannot leave the interview, if it's a face-to-face interview, if it's a Skype interview, whatever, without these 2 answers. The time it will take for you to receive an answer, and then say, okay, so thank you very much for your time, so more or less when should I receive an answer? And I will tell you, well, actually, I will give you an answer next week on Tuesday. And then on your side, if you see that you don't have an answer by next week on Tuesday, then on Wednesday and Thursday, you can write them, because you're not being pushy. They told you that you were going to have an answer on Tuesday. So, right. Okay. Who should you follow up with? Maybe you have already had 3 interviews. You have a question?
Yeah, actually on this topic, very big question. Why is it important for an applicant to receive a proper feedback after an interview?
Why is it important?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Why is it important?
It's very difficult to receive proper feedback.
Sometimes,
But they tell you why not or why yes.
Are you asking
exactly.
why sometimes you don't get feedback? Is this the question?
What it means, what can I do to improve, for that position, what didn't match.
But what is your question right now? Or is it just something
why is it important for an applicant to receive feedback after an interview?
Why is it important?
Especially if it's not going good, not interview.
To know why didn't they get you? To actually understand why, so that you can be better on the next interview. Sometimes when you're doing an interview, sometimes they've done something that you cannot really mention why, because whatever, maybe the person will get super mad or something. But normally I always try to give them a feedback on the things that I know that they can work on. And it's important, of course.
I think recruiters should give this feedback.
Of course.
And it's true, not many companies do it. Especially recruitment agencies, I think they will, because they understand that it's important for the candidate to improve.
Because sometimes the feedback
it's not very often. I think it's not super polite, especially if you've been through a few interviews, but then they tell you, no, sorry.
Yeah, we just choose another candidate.
Yeah, so I think it's okay to give something extra, but
you can ask, if they just email you saying which is another candidate, you can answer saying, hey, well, thank you very much for giving me an update on the process. But it'd be great if you could give a couple of tips or some things that you think you have to work on. That would be super useful for me.
Yeah, that also the way you show that you are motivated for the company. You can mention again, thank you very much. It was great to meet you and to hear more about your company. And if there are any other open positions, please keep me in mind and so on.
Sometimes recruiters are scared to say something that they know it's wrong, because then the person is going to be, no, but I can improve in this, and you're like, yeah, but no, because I need this specifically, and then you end up in a... But it's important that you give feedback, and you give useful feedback for the person. But again, I'm just explaining why.
Too personal.
Sometimes. That's why if it's something very, very personal, sometimes if it's something very personal, what I say is, we found someone that fits better with the values of the company. but I cannot say no because this person is stupid. Sorry. You had a question.
Yeah. I ask you because you are a recruiter, so I'm curious about this topic. I mean, why recruiters don't give feedback? Because it's often.
Okay. So it comes from the same topic.
A main reason, or maybe you have no time to give a response.
It's something that it's gonna be sound very harsh, but people tend to forget. They have a lot of things to do and they forget.
There are no format where you can send emails.
No, of course, like everyone, I sometimes I will forget, but I have already a lot of years of experience and I have learned from forgetting because people can again get very mad and I know that people will maybe not learn and it's tough, and I've also been on the other side and I have felt, like when sometimes people don't answer me. So you learn from all of this. For me, I use Google Calendar. On Fridays, I have an alarm of discarding candidates. And I discard on Friday all the candidates. That's how I do it. And I call, or if you only have like a short, brief meeting, maybe I will email them, but everyone has their ways, but I'm just saying the reason. Because I know.
But it's true, many companies will just send you an automatic message,
And
and then I understand that doesn't feel right. Then one piece of advice that you can reply sometimes, if it really has been a long process, especially, I think you deserve
always
another answer.
Because an applicant can think bad reputation about you.
Of course, I totally agree.
And maybe in the future that the same
This happens.
Yeah.
apply for that company again.
Yeah. You can go on Glassdoor and be, hey, this company didn't answer me after a 3 interview process. You can do this.
Yeah. And then maybe they will reply in Glassdoor.
Yeah. It's true that we are people, okay? So sometimes it can happen that you forget. But it is true, because it's true. What are you laughing?
Yes, we need to remember, from times that we are here.
No, but it's true, like a recruiter might do 20 interviews on the same day, and the schedules are super busy. And in the end,
They're only doing one
million
interview.
priorities, their bosses are putting pressure on them, they have a team meeting, they have this, they have that, and it happens. It's not an excuse.
It's not an excuse. It's not an excuse. I'm just saying the reason. And it's really sad. It's like, when it's your job, you kind of, if you do it daily, you kind of tend to unhumanize some processes, and that's not good. I agree with you, but that's the reason. But again, you are part of the process, and you're also the one that's interested. If you don't get an answer, write them. Always write them. You are in your right to have a feedback and to have
And you don't lose
even if it's negative. You're in your right. Okay? Okay, so who should you follow up with? So again, sometimes you have 3 interviews and you don't know the person who is going to give you the positive feedback or negative feedback. You also have to understand this. For the following thing, after the interview, it's time for you to evaluate, rethink, and send a well thought out thank you email. This will also help you to get feedback because they will remember you better, okay? On this email, you will mention things you have forgotten to mention, questions you forgot to ask, questions you were unable to fully answer because you were like, you were very nervous or something, or that you remember, I could have also mentioned this. And show you're truly interested in the job. Just be like, hey, I wanted to mention that I love the company because I love to be in contact with, like an international team, and I really see this like a very interesting path growth, and I really think that I can bring this thing to the table. Okay? Important. Okay, guys. Who is up to doing an interview workshop? So basically, this is about, we would be having a candidate, okay, of an imaginary position, okay? A candidate a recruiter, and an external watcher, okay? So I'm going to explain a little bit each person. The recruiter is going to be asking 5 questions, okay? You already have some questions at the back of your paper, so you can do it from there. Obviously, try to do it in a structured way. So normally we are asking things like, like how would you describe yourself, or can you tell me a little bit about you? Then some more specific questions on like, your weaknesses or your strengths, and then normally we end up with the question, do you have any questions? Okay? And the external watcher is someone that is going to be watching from the other side and saying what they think. I think that this answer was good. I really like how they asked for this question. I really like that they are
Face to face, well,
yeah, they are like eyes to eyes.
eyes contact.
Eye contact. And all these things. Okay? Who wants to be a volunteer? It's gonna be fun. We're gonna learn.
So we need 3 people, basically.
Yes.
Chi si è candidato per la posizione di mente, magari potrebbe fare...
It's just to practice.
It's just to practice. This way we can be getting a bit of feedback. See? Okay. Mira, perfect, because you want to apply for HR. Perfect. Si hacemos como ruido. Okay. Okay, and you as well? You want to go as well? Okay, come on, someone else. Can be the candidate and the external watcher. Come on. It's gonna be fine. You already have written some of the questions.
Anche capisco se c'ho un futuro. Se no.
Come on. You can even answer the questions in Italian or in Spanish if you want to. If not, I will just pick up someone.
We can do here.
It can be like one person here. Come on, guys. Come on. Come on. ¿Cómo se llama?
It's on the stage.
I candidati per mentore, vogliamo vedere che sono.
I prefer a girl,
This is my friend.
but
So then
Así, who wants to be the external watcher? Mis amigos. Who wants to be external? Like, you don't have to look from your seat if you don't want to. Someone very analytical. Or, hey!
questo devo fare.
Do you have the paper with the questions? Let's sit here.
you need to watch and see how
And then do some feedback.
Tu sei l'external view.
One of the stage, the external watcher maybe watching person sit with
You can even do
I am doing this. Yeah.
And then you finish.
Okay, so maybe you can be the candidate of the recruiter.
Want to be the recruiter?
So you will be the candidate.
Because he wants to work in HR. So we can give you some feedback.
Okay.
Now we're repeating.
Yo no hablo español, so.
A round of applause.
Okay, so usually recruiters start.
You're in the company Ace.
Ace.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Good morning, Mr. Checker. It's my pleasure to see you here. Thanks for applying for this job. It's a pleasure for me. Okay, I'm Stefano and today I'm your recruiter. So, first of all, I would like to explain the structure about this meeting. So, we start about yourself, and you can talk about yourself, your experience, your job experience, your education, and after I explain you something about this job. So, firstly, tell me about yourself.
Yeah, I'm Giovanni, I'm 24 years old.
Speak up, please.
I don't have a lot of words.
Okay, sorry.
So, I'm 24, I'm Giovanni, and I am 24 years old. I study at Bari University, Science of Communication, for the first degree, and the second degree, Science of Communication, Public and Agency. Now I study also Master in Web Marketing and Social Media to Academia School of Bari also. And I applied for the job of public writer.
Okay. As you know, this company, it's called ACE, and it's a big company about marketing and especially in social media management. So, you have an idea about this company? What is your idea, your personal idea?
Yes, before this meeting, I studied the story of this company. I see how it's important this company, and I'm very pleasure to be here to maybe work with this company. And I think that the job of this company is very important because they follow a lot of important company and make a lot of campaigns on internet. Yes.
Okay, okay. It's a good opinion. As you know, you probably will work in a team about from 10 or more people. I'm really curious to know what are your strengths and your weakness about this. If you have.
Yeah.
Good.
All of us are weakness. My greatest weakness is I'm not totally sure about myself when I work. I am a little bit insecure. My greatest weakness is working in a team. It's important for this kind of job because you are not the only at the the job. You need to collaborate with others. The second step is create yes relationship with the community. And after the third, in my opinion, is scheduling because for me it's very important scheduling our works.
Okay, okay. To make you more comfortable, it's important that you know this company have more training courses about not only work with other colleagues but with yourself and about your job. So you have the opportunity to learn more about how you will do and how will you stay with your colleagues. And for this, I would like to ask you an important question. From now to 3 years, where do you see yourself?
Obviously,
If you have an expectation.
obviously in a marketing agency, working here, there, and yeah, it's not important where. Important is make the job that I will do, and sorry.
Okay, so we will be able to move in other country where the company has.
I don't have problem to move abroad or in other cities.
Okay, I think it's like the first step is a good step because it's important to have an open mind if you would improve yourself, have an important career if you really appreciate this. Okay, I would like to ask you another question. It's the last question. What things motivate you? What you can, your best faults, it's your best fault, and the reason that you will give up in the future about this job?
The greatest motivation for me to do job is when you think about a campaign and that you create that campaign give to you and to the company reasons. So the reasons to achieve that reasons is very important for me. This is my motivation because I'm that kind of person that don't like to lose and more would make to do the results. So when that is my biggest motivation, make a good results. Yes.
Okay. After this interview, I will send you a personal feedback about this meeting, and maybe I think or tomorrow or until 3 days from now. And if you have any question, I'm here, so don't be afraid. Ask me what you think about this, or if you have something. Why not?
Okay. For example, normally in the company, who is normal day in this company?
Normal?
Day in this company.
Well, generally you have to a 9 to 5 work. You start in the morning and you have 2 breaks and obviously a lunch break. But for some special requests, it's possible to work from a short period at home or online, and there are most flexible with our employee.
But when we finish the work, can I turn off my laptop to my mobile phone and don't think about work, or I be 24 hours?
You are really foxy. That's why we ask you where to see your phone now. No. It's important for the vision about the company that every single member of the team have a professional life, but also a private life. Obviously, if you want to achieve your task seriously and with a professional approach, you have to respect the deadline. So, if you stay in time, there's no problem. You have maximum flexibility. You have your private life after work.
Sorry if I continue to talk about the personal life, but the company gives us some advantages, some bonus.
Yeah, there are also some benefits. You have a health insurance with the local company, and you have some benefits about the sports, about in a sports center near the city of the company is located. And I think there is the refund of travel business. But this is an aspect that we allow to explain after this.
I don't have no more questions.
Okay, it was a pleasure, and I hope you will see you again.
It's a pleasure for me.
Bye.
Okay.
Okay.
Now is your time. You can shine now.
Okay, about
Can you come here?
yeah.
So the camera is.
Okay. Yeah. About recruiter, I see that he is more fluent, but he should be less the hand movement, less body language.
On the contrary, Giovanni, the candidate, is too shy.
Yeah, shy.
Yeah, and another aspect about candidate, he should speak loudly. Okay, and he looks around and not in eyes of the recruiter, because he seems not self-confident, and it's a plus for the candidate. It's a good thing to speak about a company, asking something about a company, and I think that if it's your first experience, you don't ask if he overwork.
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think so too. That was good.
Yeah. And about the last thing about the recruiter, he's more friendly.
He's friendly.
Voice of tone.
Yeah, he's friendly as well. Do you have any other feedback that you'd like to share? No? Did you say something?
No. I was actually saying it's time for a kilo, but it's out of.
Well, no, I don't know. Not yet. So basically, well, my feedback is that yes, I mean, I just think that also he was a bit nervous. That's normal, and again, the recruiter understands this, and also the job of the recruiter. That I understand it's a different scenario. You're not in a room together, like alone. But the job is also to make the other person calm. Like normally, you're going to be like trying to smile a little bit, so the other person they are at ease. Also ask for, this is not the case, I'm not just saying this because of you, but like ask for if they want a glass of water or something like this. And for me was like one thing that you explained, that when they ask for your strengths and weaknesses, which actually they said it in this order, strengths and weaknesses, you started directly with your weaknesses. And this is like you're sharing this it really seems that you're not very sure of yourself. You're like, okay, I just want to like tell this and then I can continue with the other thing, which I prefer to talk about. So I think that it's better that you first you talk about your strengths and then you talk again about your weaknesses and understand and also explain how you are working on that weakness, how you're working, and give examples. And I really like how when you explain your strengths, you did put some examples. I thought that was very, very good. Again, what they were also saying that on the first interview, you're not going to be asking about if you're going to be working all the time. Maybe you can ask this, but a bit differently. What is the working schedule? How does it work? But again, this at the end maybe of the interview. But I thought it was good. You did structure well your answers. You even were kind of inventing some things because you didn't know about the company. And I thought it was good in general. So thank you. And the recruiter, okay.
As a recruiter, you structure things
very well.
You ask the questions in the right order. You
explain how the interview was going to go. So hey, first we're going to do this, and then you also say, okay, then I will explain what the position is about the company, and there is where you will have time to ask me things. But first is me asking you questions. I think that is also good. So they know what's going to come. It's not I don't understand what's happening.
Okay. I know, as everybody knows, Italian speak with the body.
But for me, I don't.
For me, it's
difficult. I don't
difficult.
mind so much, because also I move a lot my hands. So
Okay, just say. That's
no
no problem.
That's also not necessarily about things.
But also when you are a bit nervous, it's normal that
you express a bit more.
But normally, if you are sitting down, you're not going to maybe move so much. So that's good. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can you give me the thing? Thank you. Okay, so thank you very much. We just have a couple of things, okay? You wanted to explain? Well, first of all, before we explain a couple of things, do you have any questions for us? For this or for the beginning that we were explaining about the European market? Do you have any questions? Yes, please.
I noticed that during the interviews, sometimes they ask you weaknesses or strengths.
Yeah.
But I would like to know, these weaknesses or strengths are based on the role specifically or in general? Do you want to know these aspects related to the role or just about your personality?
They want to know in respect of your working self. They don't want to know like, hey, I don't have a good relationship with my mother. You know, I know I know you don't mean this, but I mean it like I'm being very like in a very like in an extreme, you know. But they want to know how what are the things that you have to work on when you are working. I think it's more these, you know, like again, like I'm not very organized, but maybe for the person you don't need to be like a super organized person, or you don't know, but you're going to be.
I mean, we don't have to adapt our strengths or weaknesses based on the role.
No, but strengths, I recommend you that you adapt them to the role, because if the job offer has a bullet point, right, and it tells you, we look for somebody analytical, we look for somebody who can communicate this and that. So take advantage of that, and you have learned the job offer, and you think, okay, I actually have those things. This offer is for me. So I'm a very analytical person because of this and that. I like to communicate because of this and that. So take advantage of that. No, even if you had other strengths that maybe are also important, but if you know that in the job offer they mention those, it means because those are very important. So try to take advantage of that. With the weaknesses, sometimes
Not like, again, like, not something like Portuguese, as you were saying, they're not asking for Portuguese, but it can be something a bit more generic, you know?
Yeah, so I'm doing a job of sales, and yes, I'm not the most organized person,
It's very good.
but, which is very common, sales people are not organized, but I do this, I calendar everything, I use this app, and I'm trying to be organized, no? I use Salesforce or whatever program.
Any other questions before we explain a couple of other things?
We're almost finished, right?
We're almost finished, yeah. Do you have any questions? Yes?
Maybe something more personal about this job. So like, do you like your job?
Well, I hate it. Not just kidding.
What's the hardest thing in your job?
In my
Why
job?
do this kind of job?
I mean, I started.
Because I'm like,
Well, I first of all I started in recruitment because I mean I really enjoy like being in contact with people and communication, the dynamic. I think I really like in terms of recruitment that there's this really good balance between being in contact with people, so having to call people, having to see people, and also there's a lot of time where you have to be also by yourself. Like analyzing things, seeing CVs, discarding, like there's these two parts. Sometimes I'm a person I love to be with people, but others I'm like I want to be alone. So I think it's a good combination in that kind of sense. And then what I've learned that I really love about recruitment in specific is that I love speaking to people and then like explaining their job. Like some things that you're never going to learn about, someone that, I don't know, works in design or something, and they explain like, well, I have this position, and I had to do this project, and for me that's super interesting. Like that I love, because I'm learning every day, And then in terms of HR, and also like working in Europe with jobs, as it's not like a super big company, I have a lot of space where I can be doing like different tasks and different things, and also I have my say, so I can say what I think, I can even propose, like new projects, and even right now I also have other tasks, not only recruitment, but I have to do with, let's say, training, that I have to do with payroll, that I have to do even with events that I'm doing for the team. So, yeah. I don't know if I answered your question, if you want to know anything more specific. Okay. And I can come to Poland. Any other questions? Okay, so just a couple of other things, okay? Just 2 minutes.
Well, just to finish with some kind of conclusions, so you take something from today. But we really encourage you to have an experience abroad. I think it's something that is going to look good on your CV. So one of the reasons to do it is because we, as I was saying at the beginning, we are in a very global world. Companies will value a lot people who have had international experience, who have lived abroad. If you lived abroad, you have had challenges that somebody who never moved from this country never faced. And companies know that. And it also shows that you know how to speak in an international community, which nowadays in companies is going to be very important. So first of all, do it to improve your CV, but also do it for the experience. I mean, you are all here in Poland, I'm sure you're having a great time. So if you move abroad or if you stay here, it's a great experience, personal experience. It opens your mind. You get to learn languages, you get to meet people. I mean, I truly recommend it. I've been abroad many times, and it's always been a different but interesting experience. The second point to take is that the employment market is very competitive. We were explaining it before. It's not only about what core skills you have learned in university, there are many other soft skills, and you guys have been working on them here, and you need to be sure that you know them and that you show them. And also there are many other tools out there where you need to be. So try to be in the different job boards, like we mentioned, if you're looking for a job in Poland, try to be on the national job boards, on the niche job boards, on the recruitment agencies, on LinkedIn is a plus, right? So we need to be a little bit everywhere in order to land that job. And the last point that we were talking a bit right now, all of the previous thing is to land the job interview, and then you need to prepare for that job interview so you do it well. In the end, people who done a lot of job interviews end up doing them much better, obviously, no? But make sure you prepare for them. Avoid making those stupid mistakes of not knowing those typical questions, of not dressing properly, of arriving late, and you will be surprised how many people do it. Again, I spoke the other day with a lady from a German recruiter actually, and she was telling me that nowadays the candidates are doing worse and worse in the first job interview. They are not prepared, they are not dressing properly, they are saying things that are inappropriate in a job interview. So don't make those mistakes, and in the end, you will surprise them. And if you give them the trust, if you show them you're motivated, and then you also have the core skills, you will land the job. So it's really about that.
Okay, just two other things. You have a paper there that's called the 30-day challenge, 30 days to get a job. And maybe some of you have already did another event that we have that was called Go Places. Go Places. So this one is basically an event that you can do. You don't have to be there every day, but it basically gives you tools on 4 weeks on how to actually get a job. It starts from self-reflection, which we all know that you know a lot about this, but you have done that a lot in Macedon Bay. And then goes to, let's say, more like in terms of your CV, on how to prepare for an interview, and then how to do it after that. So I think it's quite interesting. And we also do a lot of webinars with coaches from all around Europe. It's for free, so use it. Use whatever you think you're lacking.
Yeah, this month in Europe Now Jobs is the busiest month of the year. Is when more offers are being published. So make sure that if you're looking for a job right now, you take a look.
And then just the mentoring sessions, in case that you're looking to work abroad and you want a bit of help in terms of that, you can always contact us so we can have a mentoring session, and I can help you out work in another country, in Spain, Portugal, if you want, and then we can tackle it together. Okay? So hey, thank you very much for your time, and hope it was useful.